If that's the speed at which life is going to move, how do you pause to redefine future? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest, Mr. Ravi Karunayaka, speakers this day, and fellow participants. Fundamentally, I would dare say, economy is a buying behavior of the dominant portion of a society. If you really meditate on this line, if you have a certain age group that dominates the population, then the buying power, the consumption of stuff that they want to use will increase. If you have a good middle income society, youth population, you will find people going into brands. You will find as you mature into earning capacity of a middle-aged population, you will go into bigger branded cars, and you will find the consumption of vehicles increasing, and that trend would move. And if you have a youthful population, you would have affiliation for gadgets, and you will find technology-driven stuff growing. As a group moves into 35 to 40, there would be leisure travel increasing, so you will find the industry of air travel increasing. If you have a younger population who parents want to support education, you will find the education industry growing. And probably when you come into a 40, 45, you probably move to a larger house, or you probably buy the second house. This is probably what happened in the United States for the meltdown. People might think that they move into larger houses, and as you age, as your children walk away into their own houses, you can't maintain larger houses, you want to sell the larger houses, and you want to move into smaller houses. And I would dare propose to you that there were bigger houses available for sale, and bankers tried to find finances to fund them, and said to people who didn't want the house in the first place and absolutely didn't have no capacity to pay. Is it not what happened in the global meltdown and what we call the subprime mortgage crime? And we probably, as we mature, people get stuck on their houses. And as you grow up in age, we probably going to have a second vehicle. You'll want to buy the second car, you will find the car industry growing. And you have the statistical number of vehicles are getting registered in our country. Look around in the neighborhood, how many people have more than one car? Pardon me for this. So when you watch that buying behavior, you will find the respective industries moving. So probably you can forecast, if you know where the demography is moving, what industries will grow, where to invest, what kind of employment that the economy will create. In that sense, can't we define the future? If that is the possibility, why is that we are not in a smooth sailing situation, but in more a volatile situation, an uncertain situation, a complex situation, and an ambiguous situation? Thank you. Why are we in this situation? Every day we wake up and walk out. We walk into what we now called as VUCA, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But isn't was the situation at the very beginning of mankind? Didn't Attila the Hun wake up to an uncertain world? Why are we sensationalizing it now? Every day we walk out to an uncertain world. We say there is volatility. We don't know what's going to happen. We say there is uncertainty. Maybe, yes, no. Which way do we go? Prospects of surprise is higher. But who is creating this prospect for surprise? Complex, yes, multiple forces of economy, confusion, chaos. Who is creating this? Don't know which way to go, questioning your ethics and values. Do we want to stand or follow? Do you want to stand up or suck up? Which way do we want to go?
Only for this, that is.
Disasters? How many of these are man-driven disasters? We test the nuclear weapons in the sea and upset the seabed, and we blame God for the tsunamis at Hiraway. What happened in the World Trade Center? Power hunger, inequality in distribution that drives these disasters. Is it man-made or is it God-made? We need to move away from vision to reality. Vision has always been a cloud, and that's why you see in management books. What happens to clouds? They change shape, they dilute, they disappear. But if you focus on your future reality, if you visualize your reality, then you start working towards it in a better way. Who will you be in the next 5 years? Can you imagine your reality in 5 years? This man who started his business in the garage reimagined the customer centricity and said people don't know what they want until you tell them. And this is what he saw Apple to be, but he started in a garage. So you got to visualize the reality of your vision. Every annual report has its vision statement of a beautiful world. Everybody has so much to give, very colorful, very cosmetic. But what do we create? Chaos. So if every organization lives a vision statement across the world, we will not have a chaotic situation today. It's very cosmetic. Why? We have corporate germs. The vision statement is nice, but living that vision is a challenge. We have the Andrews of Enron and much later the Andrews of Tesco. We have Andrews everywhere because we doctor the accounts. The minister was saying how Sri Lanka balance sheet was doctored. So we have Andrews, we had Andrews even in our parliament before. This is what happens, which I call Enronism. What is Enronism? Enronism is doctoring your numbers to get benefit. So a person who does that can easily be called an Enronist, which you can popularize, and it's a huge company that just collapsed and triggered the collapses across the US. But that's not the first. It happened in 1995, you may recall, a man called Nick Leeson with Bahrain Bank. Again, driven by rewards. He took a position that killed that organization and he ended up in jail. Because when people come into power, it doesn't only corrupt, it blinds you. It blinds you to believe that the people around you are blind. And you become the corporate antichrist. And that is where good governance comes into play. We talk about good governance now. We have to rate banks before we put the deposits. Where was it 30 years ago? I am a career banker. The time I joined the bank, people never bothered about what rating that was to. Because they know banks are ethical. Recently, one of the rating companies was stopped from giving ratings in Sri Lanka. So that's where corruption has taken you. Today we have to compel people to apply for competitions to make sure that you practice good governance. Isn't it a given in a corporate? That is why you got to move from greed to governance. Even the FIFA president, after being elected, couldn't hold on to his position because of public force. He had to step down because of his activity that came into life. When you are powerful, you think everything is at your disposal. And you think it's a norm to have fun at workplace. You misuse people and you become subject to what is called an ostrich factor. An ostrich would bury its head in the sand and believes that its backside is not exposed, and you would find it's out there to be shot. And most of the people in the corporate world do the same, because power not only corrupts, but it blinds you. Corruption starts from the head. Countries and companies, we have evidence, brought from the head. So that is why we should be careful. Countries and companies brought from the head. That is why it is important that we have governance at the top and set the tone at the beginning. It's all about temptation. The very first man on earth said to have been tempted. And we continue to be tempted. And we don't have the ability to control. And we compensate and support through the powers that we acquire. And we think we are kings. And a lot of people who thought that you won't fall, but do fall. But kings of this nature only have people like prawns. Prawns, they have no guts, they have no spine, and their head is full of. And we expect people to blindly follow them to climb the corporate ladder, surrendering all values and virtues because they show benefits of career and buy people off their values. And you start supporting this corporate antichrist. And this is why companies fail. And it is important that we need to have good governance in companies, because some of the companies are bigger than countries. If one of these companies fail, it is as good as a nation failing. And that's why it is important that when you redefine, you get the fundamentals of redefinition right. People stand up. Steve Biko, it's better to die for an idea that will live than live for an idea that will die. It is better to work for a company that will live than work for a company that will die. We are stereotypes. We all know the behavior pattern. As a nation, we move in one direction. But there is individualism that we don't have the guts to bring out. But are we all stereotyped? What is our subconscious power that we don't bring in redefining our future? How many of us are just prototypes? Just do, walk, work, dress, behave, live like anybody else. What does it take you to redefine yourself? Discover yourself. Find who you are for your future. Moving away from prototyping, because there are millions of people, and look at how the youth have changed. 71% of the online adults use Facebook. 23% of the world population is on Twitter. And this is becoming virtually connected. So if you are going to be a stereotype, how do you influence this population? How do you redefine the future of the young generation? Blinded by power, these people thought they will never fall. Some of them were murdered by their own people. But there aren't power on the people who govern the blind. They will find sight one day, and then the kings will fall. Imagine we can have a corporate angel that who is clean, committed to governance like what we heard a couple of minutes ago, and then live, walk, talk every day, but in their clean values that they project. How agile that lead the organization, a country, move away from fragility and bring them to agility and make him very active and competitive. How agile are you in your mind if you want to redefine your future? Will we have an angel who will motivate us by dignity and not by fear? The speech that was delivered in 1965 made sure a black American became the president in 2009. And it took that long to believe in something and deliver and walk the talk. And he died before he was even 40. He was murdered before he was even 40. Every company, every institution, every individual has a higher purpose. But we live the common purpose. In a race of this, often the deer survives. because it runs for its life, not for its food. It makes a complete difference. Every day you walk in, and if you're walking in to earn a living, or you're walking in to make a difference to everyone you come in contact with. Could you have the courage of conviction to stand up and deliver what you have to do? When you think too much, you think into limitations. Look at those moments. Every time you sit down to think, you bring all the limitations. Can we just unthink? Can we have a model of not just thinking too much and just delivering what we have to do? Can you move away from our conventional limitations of our minds? Here are people who have limitations, but they thought they can do things differently. We had Jessica Cox in the same platform, who is the only commercial pilot who has no hands. Can you be convinced and can you be motivated by your conviction to stand up and redefine the future of this country, redefine the future of your company, and redefine the future of yourself? We have a clear case in South Africa where they had a similar situation like ours, and they are built in, and we'll be sharing this case study later. We are still struggling to connect our people as one nation. Stephen Biko again, he died in detention, actually murdered in detention, because he wanted to live for the purpose of seeing the black freedom in that country. This man was in prison for 27 years, had a conviction, lived through that conviction, came into power, 4 years, delivered his conviction and walked away. There were no extensions of re-election in that part of the world. If you are the future, you have to define your future. If you can only imagine that there is no corruption, if you can only imagine that there is no threat, if you can only imagine that you are free to stand up your conviction and deliver the purpose you being here on this land, then we can redefine our future. Thank you.